Hello, CARP community. My name is Arya, and I'm the research assistant here at CARP Research Lab at George Mason University. Here we are with one of CARP's lead historians from the University of Amsterdam, Dr. Martijn Icks. Now, Dr. Icks has written a dissertation on the crimes of Elagabalus, a Roman emperor known for his wealth and decadent lifestyle. And, whoa, I think we see him in the background, do we not?
Yeah, he's watching us.
Oh, wow, that's great. Let's get started. Here, I formulated 5 questions to be addressed in 5 minutes on character assassinations from a historical perspective. Let's get started. We tend to think of character assassinations as a typically modern phenomenon. Did it also occur in other historical periods?
Yes, it most certainly did. So we might immediately think of tweets or memes on the internet, campaign ads on TV. But in other historical periods, people used other media to commit character assassination. So they might give speeches calling each other names, for instance. They might write pamphlets. They might print cartoons or put graffiti on a wall or destroy someone's statues or mutilate someone's statues. Those are all ways in which character could be attacked. And of course, most of the targets would not be democratically elected politicians like nowadays, but they would be kings and queens, emperors, popes, bishops. Basically, anyone who was in a prominent position and was highly visible could become a target for character assassination.
How far back in time can we trace examples of character assassinations?
Well, we can trace them very far back in time, actually. Even in ancient Egypt, more than 3,500 years ago, character attacks were already going on. Queen Hatshepsut was one of the very few female pharaohs that ancient Egypt ever had, and she reigned successfully for over 20 years. But after she had died, some decades after her death, you see that her statues were being destroyed. Her image is removed from temple walls. So apparently some people were not happy with the idea that a woman could rule successfully, and they posthumously tried to destroy her reputation. So that you could consider a very early case of character assassination.
With that being said, Dr. Icks, what famous historical figures suffered from character assassinations?
Well, we already mentioned the Emperor Elagabalus here behind me. Another one would be the Emperor Nero, who also had a reputation for being a very vicious, decadent, cruel monarch. And that's because he was depicted as such in very hostile literary sources. And we know that some people held a more positive view of Nero, but hardly any traces of that have been left. So Nero definitely counts as a victim of character assassination. Another one would be Napoleon, the French conqueror. When you hear his name, many people immediately think of a guy of diminutive height, whereas in fact Napoleon was of normal size for his age, but he was depicted as a sort of dwarf or toy soldier in British cartoons that were trying to ridicule him, make him seem puny. And somehow that image has stuck, so that we still think of Napoleon as this tiny dwarf with a superior giant complex.
Now, what can history teach us about character assassinations?
Well, I think history is very interesting because it provides us with lots of different scenarios. And we have different political systems that we look at, people living not in democracies, but in monarchies, for instance, or in communist dictatorships, fascist societies. We have different levels of technology and media, and we can see how those affect character assassination. So, for instance, what happens when the printing press is invented, what happens to the dynamics of character assassination once we get newspapers, once we get television, once we get the internet, and how do different cultural values that exist through time, how do those affect character assassination? History provides us with lots of different scenarios to look at, to see what are the universal features of character assassination that keep occurring time and time again, and what things about it are more culture specific or more technology specific. And that helps us to get a better grasp of the phenomenon as a whole.
Now, and lastly, I wanted to touch up on something I think all of our viewers would really enjoy here. What challenges do we face when we study character assassinations from a historical perspective?
Yeah, we would face many challenges, so I'll just stick to two. One is that the source record is very patchy. I already mentioned that in the case of Nero. Generally, the further back in time you go, the poorer the source record becomes, and that means that often you only have one very one-sided view of a particular historical character, and it's very hard to think to find out what other people thought about them. Another thing is that you can't do surveys or opinion polls because in historical cases, everyone, of course, has been long dead. So you can't ask people, how do you feel about that person? Has your opinion been affected by these character attacks that occurred or not? And that makes it very hard to determine how effective character attacks actually were in their time, because we simply lack the means and we lack the information to find that out. But even so, it's very worthwhile, I think, to study history and see what that can teach us about character assassination.
Great. Thank you so much for your time and contribution on this topic and character assassination, Dr. Icks. For more information on Dr. Icks, on his current work and his dissertation, check out our CARP website and the links in the bio. Make sure to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Till we see you guys next time. Thank you so much, Dr. Icks.
Welcome.